Hello and welcome to Youth Education Services. My name is Sarah Benno and today we're here joined by Lisa Nomoa. Lisa is from Northern Peninsula area, Bamaga girl, or from the Cape, the very tip of Australia. So we just did a video before with Lisa about what it was like to be a teenager growing up in Bamaga,
yes,
or in the communities in Cape York. We want to just touch back on this because things went a little bit pear-shaped in the community after a couple of issues. We have spoken about this in depth some time, and we've spoken with elders about what actually, you know, the changes that occurred. So there were things that happened in community when we were there where elders used to previously hold a lot of power, and we noticed that that power was losing hands. Yeah. So we decided that that was something that we should also really share. So Lisa, if it's okay with you, I just want to say one of the things I spoke about with an elder was that he said one of the worst things that ever happened in the Cape was actually when the lights went on, when electricity came out in the streets and the street lights came on, because the children were out every night then. But Lisa, you've got a different take on that too. What's your take on it? You were worried about when the laws changed.
Oh yes, because when the law wasn't the law.
So when white man's laws weren't enforced,
yes,
what happened? What was the normal thing that happened?
We stayed in home. We weren't allowed out the gate. We cooked our own meals, we washed our own clothes, we cut the grass, we did all that stuff.
And then the white man's laws came in. So hang on, let's just go back one little bit. Were you smacked if you didn't do the right thing?
Yes, my daughter used to smack us with a fishing rod and a hose.
And a hose? So if you were naughty children, you got belted?
Yes, if we didn't do our chores.
If you didn't do your chores, but you were definitely made to do chores?
Yes.
Okay, so then the white man's laws came in and children were no longer allowed to be belted?
Yes.
And what else changed?
Everything changed when the law came in. My granddad wouldn't be able to smack us now, so we just will go out the gate whenever we wanted, play on the streets and get into trouble.
So that meant that the 9 o'clock rule that you were at home and you didn't go out and you were in bed by 9 o'clock, that all stopped?
Yes, that all stopped because my grandfather was afraid of losing us.
So when the white man's laws came in, all the indigenous people were worried that if they didn't follow them, they would lose their children.
Yes, because if they would smack us, the family service would step in.
And do you know of any children that were taken because of the smacking?
Yes, lots.
Lots. Okay, so Lisa, as we had Christmas together in 2015,
yes,
and after we came back from Christmas we landed back in Bamaga, and it was a bit too much for you seeing all of Brisbane and having all of that different life, wasn't it?
yes.
And I, not long after that, moved on to Charters Towers. Tell us what happened to you in that next period.
I mixed it up with my friends.
Did you go back to school?
No.
What did you do?
I drank a lot, smoke, do drugs.
Get into trouble with the police?
Yes, getting a lot of trouble in the police. And yes, I guess because I didn't have a mother role.
You were all by yourself. And what happened? You met a nice man though.
I wasn't ready to settle down, but I guess
Who did you meet?
I met Robinson Sally
Yeah.
Jr.
And what happened with you and Robinson?
We stayed together. It was fun. He took me out fishing and took me to his country in Ingenu.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did lots of fun stuff together. Then we had Javak.
Okay, so you fell pregnant at 20?
Yes.
Okay, now this particular next chapter I'd like to share if you don't mind, because I don't know that people understand how brave Indigenous women are. So Robbi has a father who's on dialysis.
Yes.
And he has to help care for him.
Yes, he was his carer.
So he was his carer, and you were pregnant.
Yes.
And do you have your babies in Bamaga?
No.
Where do you go for your babies?
We jump on a ferry and go, how many kilometers?
About 2 hours? 1 hour? 1 hour on the ferry?
Yes, 1 hour on the ferry to Thursday Island.
So all babies are had at Thursday Island Hospital.
Yes.
And how much in advance have you got to be at Thursday Island for that baby? About a week before you have the baby?
A month before I have the baby.
So who was with you at Thursday Island?
Nobody.
Nobody. So you went there a month before your baby was due?
Yes.
And you stayed there all alone?
Yes.
Was anybody with you when you had that baby?
No.
So you had that whole baby all by yourself?
Yes.
You just went to the labour ward and the nurses were there?
Yes.
And then you went with your newborn baby back to your hospital bed and nobody was with you?
Robinson came on the afternoon ferry.
So Robinson was able to get there in the afternoon?
Yes.
And he saw his baby for the first time?
Yes.
So do a lot of other Indigenous women have their babies by themselves?
Yes.
So sometimes it is just too hard to have aunties or mothers there because of other family commitments?
Yes.
Okay, and you then brought your baby back to the community? And when you bring your baby back to community, by all rights, you should have gifted your baby, shouldn't you?
Yes.
But you chose not to?
Yes.
Okay, so you have chosen to keep your baby with Rabbi?
Yes.
And choosing that life, where did you first live when you had your baby?
I lived in a studio bedroom under my sister-in-law house.
Okay, and the living conditions in that, you were quite upset one time when you rang me because there were lice or something in the floor?
Yes, there were dog ticks coming into our room because it wasn't...
concrete?
Yeah, it wasn't
Sealed.
sealed properly.
Yeah, so there was also no air conditioning, no fans?
Yes, there was no fans. We had to get a box aircon and put it on the window. There was only 3 windows.
And your oven wasn't an oven, it was just a portable gas stove in the corner?
Yes.
So how much overcrowding is there in some of the Bamaga houses?
Lots.
So in your stepfather's house, how many people were sleeping in it?
There was 6 people and...
How many bedrooms?
2, because one was a storage room.
Okay, so 2 bedrooms. So you made the decision, you and Robbi made the decision that you would go and go down to Cairns so that Robbi could get some work?
Yes.
And you want to finish your education?
Yes.
So Lisa has joined me. She has her certificate 3 in early childhood?
Yes.
In early childhood. So they were there for a little while, but as Javik is now 2 and Robbi would like to try and get a trade of some description, they've decided to come to the Sunshine Coast with me and Robbi can get his trade and Lisa can get her diploma of education. So Lisa, one of the stories I also remember living in the Cape, which I just thought was prehistoric, was how much is a tin of formula in Bamaga?
$39.
$39, and we bought one yesterday for $18.
Yes.
$18. So it is, you know, it is really, really, really hard. $39 versus $18 for formula. How many of the girls breastfeed? They most start out breastfeeding.
Yes, they most start out breastfeeding. If they see that the formula is not is too much to buy, they'll still breastfeed while smoking, and it's not healthy for the baby.
Yeah, and one of the things that I saw there was, well, the health nurses told me, was that some of the mothers were buying the tinned milk.
Yes.
And watering it down and giving it to babies.
Yes.
So, you know, that is a scary and really prehistoric, that at the end of the day, the food is so expensive that they will go to that resort to feed their children. So again, I hope you've had a little bit of an insight into what it was like to be a young mother in Northern Peninsula area, falling pregnant. You don't get married, do you? No, so a lot of Islander weddings, they don't happen until you've been together for some time.
Yes.
But you have the children in the meantime.
Yes.
And that is because you want to make really certain when you do marry.
Yes.
And Lisa, can I ask, are you of the faith? You are Christian?
Yes.
And you now go to church every single Sunday?
Yes.
And this has happened most definitely since you've had Javak?
Yes.
Because you want him to
have a better future?
Okay, to have a better future, and it's important that he know the Lord?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the little story and sharing with Lisa and her Islander life. It is a different life, very, very different from what we're used to. And our next video, we're going to talk about our same old principles, routine, structure, and boundaries, and how they differ culturally from our white society, and the things that, yeah, well, that are alike and that are different. Okay, thank you very much for joining us here on Youth Education Services. Till next time.
Bye.